What a timely presentation, especially for us here in Zimbabwe. Last year, the president issued an ultimatum to the country's 92 local authorities for them to come up with master plans to guide our cities and the towns, especially the cities' urban renewal programs. And we saw those ultimatums being issued when our local authorities failed to meet the deadlines. What does it mean when we talk of the importance now of public spaces, as we've just had in that presentation? We've also seen running battles between vendors and the authorities, with residents and the vendors themselves demanding working space. We've also seen residents complaining about the lack of recreational space. So I found Dr. Saidi's presentation quite interesting, putting all those issues that we're facing as a country in the matrix. And to what extent have we had industry experts being involved in the formulation of these policies and programs? So now, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to do a question and answer session regards this last presentation and the one before that. So please do show by raise of hand if you have any question you'd like to pose for our last 2 or 3 speakers. If you could kindly introduce yourself, say who you are, and then you can give us your question as we wait to get into the next part of our program. And it was also interesting to see those visuals. I've been to Tanzania, especially Dar es Salaam, the commercial hub, and I can tell you that navigating in a Kariakoo is a nightmare. Yes, sir.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Jeffrey Nyoni. I'm from Evolve Design Studio. My question is directed at Dr. Saidi. It's in regards to wetlands. I think a lot of times we see wetlands being used for other purposes or being taken over, being constructed, and I think generally there isn't a real appreciation for wetlands, so I'll just jump into my questions. Dr. Saidi, how can wetlands be designed and integrated into the urban landscapes as public spaces in a way that not only preserves the ecological function, but also fosters public appreciation and awareness of their value? Because I think we just hear about wetlands and the general public really doesn't have an appreciation, I think also because they don't really access or use the wetlands. Thank you.
All right, so what we'll do is we'll take 4 questions and then I'll ask the speakers to respond. So let's have 3 more questions. If there aren't any for now, then I'll ask Dr. Saidi to respond.
Thank you, Ms. Nyon. Wetlands are natural occurring phenomena. Yeah. But I can tell you that my experience around Africa is that sometimes politicians and businessmen see wetlands as empty land. Yeah. And sorry politicians, but they fill up, they begin to fill up. They get an engineering solution. Again, I'm treading on the toes of the engineers. Maybe you're not responsible because you're responding to the politician. Fill up the wetland, make it drier, have a raft foundation, and it will be okay. It's an engineering solution. It works. It's fine. It's fine until you see the pictures from Gaborone. I don't know if you've seen, but go on online now. Gaborone, Kampala, Lusaka, the last couple of months, all of the areas, all of these 3 cities have experienced extreme flooding. Why? Because the water, when it drains from your nicely paved, what people call these smart cities with nice paving and all, the water just rushes straight into the streams and into the wetlands. wetlands are natural sinks. They hold the water and they actually process it before it's released into the river. Because we filled them up, we've stopped that function and we end up with flooding. So how can we be designing for them? Is just by respecting their boundaries. The boundaries are there. If you look at the maps, there's always a 100-year flood line, there's a 50-year flood line. But because in the recent past we haven't experienced a 100-year flood line, we think, oh, we're safe, we're going to do it. And come 2025, the 100 years comes now, and now with climate change, we're getting even more flooding. So how can they be designed is by designing friendly activities that recognize the function of the wetlands. Friendly, I mean, when we went to Kampala, we looked at where the floodlines were, and we challenged students to think about the activities that could be adjacent to the wetlands. And so we began suggesting that there mustn't be any housing near the boundaries of where the wetlands are. So we pushed the boundary for building way up. What could be there? Recreation can be there, because recreation, we don't normally we don't sleep in the park, but we can have recreation activities. The other activity is urban farming. Is a great site around wetlands. One, because there's water. Two, because farming activities is seasonal. It also helps to restore the water if designed very well. So there are activities that can be done adjacent to the wetlands that we can suggest in our plans here. For instance, the animals, keeping of animals and cows and goats for slaughtering during rituals. We don't have to go to our villages or far-flung areas to bring in the cows. We can be using them. I'll give you an example. In the city of Newcastle upon Tyne, in England, there is what is called a town moor. And in the town moor, I was surprised when I walked there. There are always cows there. There were always cows, but the legislation in the city of Johannesburg was saying no animals in the urban areas. But in the urban areas where the regulations presumably came from, it's allowed. So I was saying, but how come the English have cows in the city and we don't have cows in the city? We're not allowed. Do you see what I'm saying? So legislation must recognize our practices. And if we keep cows in the wetlands, that's really fine. Okay, I hope I've, in a small way. But, and so in the wetlands of Kampala, on the edges, you will find people that are growing yams, they're growing sugarcane, they're growing all sorts of crops. They could be grown on the edges of a wetland without any problems of stopping the function of a wetland. The people are actually doing it, they know how to do it. And we must learn from them, and as designers, use our knowledge as designers to really create the resilient landscape that's we're talking about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saidi, for speaking to that issue. I know the issue of wetlands preservation and management has been a contentious one in Zimbabwe, and I can tell you that as part of our program this afternoon, or today, we are going to have a panel discussion that will involve a City of Harare officials as well as representatives of some residents association to take each other head on the issue of our wetlands. But let's have some more questions.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Hilary Mkaratewa, architect. My question or comment is directed to Mr. Cheza Manyepa. My question is, no, it's not a question, it's just something to ponder about on the volumes of production of architects between our three institutions and also our polytechnics. Because I thought, in Zimbabwe, per capita, compared to other African countries, for example, Nigeria, out of the 23,000 architects in Africa, registered architects, Nigeria has got 16,000. 16,000 architects, Zimbabwe has got 62. And going to the way the African Union is going, free trade and free movement of professionals, which I shall talk about in the afternoon. How are the Zimbabwe going to stand when per capita or we have one architect for 225,000 people? Nigeria has got one architect for 14,000, whilst Zimbabwe has got 66 architects. We need to ponder that are we overproducing architects, or it is the quality? So I think we need to look as the Ministry of Higher Education, the IAZ, and the Architects Council as we move towards, because SADC has started this already, the free movement. By 2025, end of 2026, we'll be having free movement of professionals across the 16 countries of SADC. The whole 16 countries, everybody will be able to move from South Africa. So are we putting ourselves in a state where we are saying we want to limit the people entering the market? So we need to consider that as IAZ and as the Architect Council and the Ministry of Higher Tertiary Education and also Trade. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Some thought-provoking insights there as far as the number of our architects is concerned, begging the question on the produce or the output of Education 5.0. I don't know if Mr. Manyepa would like to speak to that. Okay. Maybe just a brief comment on that submission that was made before we move on.
Thank you for representing Mr. Manyepa. I'll take down that question for him. That question has been asked in the architecture department and it is being pondered on. I'm sure it will be addressed by the president of the IAZ in collaboration with the Department of Architecture. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think if there aren't any other questions, okay, Dr. Saidi will close on this session before we have our next speaker. The mic right behind you.
Thank you. I just want to respond on the question of overproducing the number of architects. And maybe caution. 30 years ago, I think I was a young architect in Zambia. It was still the same question. Are we overproducing? And there was a small cohort of individuals who had a tight control on who could become an architect. If I criticize them, I was just saying they had inherited a colonial legacy of wanting to control the architectural profession. So my take on this is that on one hand, we're talking about the billion population of Africans coming into the city, 1 billion. And yet we want to control the numbers of architects that will produce. So if we have 1 billion Africans in urban areas in the year 2025, who's going to design for them? Do you want the other architects from the other continents to come and design for them? You will have a shortfall. So much as I think should be guidance from the fiscus and the economy and whatever, but let's plan critically for a future that will answer the challenges of Africa. And how we can do that is we'll produce more architects, and with that we must invent other ways of practicing architecture. We've only got one model. The whole of Africa has one model of an architect who gets work from government, that's all. There should be other models that we can adopt. That's my critical view as an academic. Thank you.